The breaking point. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the Earth Space Force flagship Prometheus, watching the swirling quantum storms of the Carina Nebula with practiced calm. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in tense silence, monitoring the experimental drive that had brought them to this forbidden sector of space. They all knew what was at stake. This test flight would either prove humanity's greatest breakthrough in faster-than-light travel or confirm the Galactic Council's worst fears about their species. "Final diagnostic complete, Admiral," announced Dr. Raj Patel from his station. "The quantum matrix is holding steady at 147% efficiency above Council standards." He couldn't quite keep the pride from his voice. After all, they'd achieved what the Council had deemed impossible and dangerous. Sarah nodded, her reflection ghosting against the transparent aluminum viewport. "And our observers?" "Still watching, ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, gesturing to the sleek Council vessel maintaining a safe distance of 15 light minutes. "They're broadcasting the standard warnings about prohibited technological experimentation." Of course they were. The Council had been broadcasting those warnings since humanity first modified their standardized FTL drives 5 years ago. Each innovation was met with increasingly stringent regulations, each breakthrough with new restrictions. The Council preached stability above all else, enforcing technological stagnation in the name of safety. "They're hailing us again," Rodriguez added. "The Overseer sounds agitated. Put them through." Sarah turned from the viewport, squaring her shoulders. The holographic projection materialized in the center of the bridge. Overseer Exiled, their appointed council minder. The Vartian's crystalline form pulsed with angry crimson light. "Admiral Chen, you will cease this reckless experiment immediately. Your species' continued defiance of Council safety protocols cannot be tolerated. With respect, Overseer, we're operating in accordance with the modified protocols established after the Proxima incident. Our test flight is fully documented and monitored. Modified protocols that your species forced through with political manipulation." Exil's voice resonated with harmonics of disapproval. "You cannot understand the dangers of unrestricted technological advancement. The Council has maintained peace for 50,000 years by carefully controlling scientific progress." Sarah felt her diplomatic smile slip. "And in those 50,000 years, how many civilizations have stagnated? How many worlds have fallen to preventable disasters because the Council blocked vital technological development? We've reviewed the archives, Overseer. We know about the Centaurian plague that could have been cured if the Council hadn't restricted genetic engineering research. The crystalline alien's form flashed dangerous patterns of deep violet. You speak of things you cannot comprehend, human. Your species is barely a century into faster-than-light travel. You cannot see the patterns we have observed over millennia. Unrestricted advancement leads only to chaos and destruction. Or perhaps you've been in power so long you've forgotten how to progress." Sarah countered. "Humanity hasn't just survived by adapting. We've thrived. And we're not going to stop pushing boundaries because of your fears." "Then you leave us no choice." Exil's form stabilized into a rigid geometric pattern. "By authority of the Galactic Council, humanity is hereby charged with willful violation of technological safety protocols. All human vessels are ordered to return to Sol System immediately pending final judgment." Sarah felt the weight of the moment settle onto her shoulders. This was it. The breaking point they'd all known was coming. "And if we refuse, then your species will face exile from Council space. You will be confined to your home system, cut off from all galactic civilization. Choose carefully, Admiral Chen." The bridge fell silent. Sarah looked at her crew, humans who had dreamed of the stars, who had pushed the boundaries of what was possible. She saw determination in their eyes, not fear. "Overseer," she said carefully, "humanity did not come this far by letting others dictate our limitations. We will not be confined by your fears of progress." She nodded to Dr. Patel. "Initiate the quantum drive test. Admiral Chen, this is your final warning." "No, Overseer." Sarah's voice carried the weight of conviction. This is yours. Humanity will not be chained. If you force us out of council space, we will find our own way. And perhaps one day, when you finally remember how to look forward instead of back, you'll understand what you've lost today. The quantum drive hummed to life, its revolutionary design defying everything the council believed possible. As reality began to blur around them, Sarah caught a final glimpse of the council vessel's panicked retreat. "Plot a course home," she ordered. "The council needs to understand that if they force this choice, we choose freedom over submission. We choose progress over stagnation." She turned back to the viewport, watching space itself reshape around their ship. "We choose our own path among the stars." As the Prometheus accelerated past what the Council had deemed the absolute limit of safe, faster-than-light travel, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Council thought they were punishing humanity with their threats of exile. They didn't understand that humans had always done their best work when backed into a corner. The breaking point had arrived, but it wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Exodus and evolution. The uncharted regions beyond Council space were exactly as dangerous as the ancient star charts had warned. Dr. Raj Patel watched from the observation deck of Sanctuary Station as another quantum storm raged through the nearby asteroid field, its purple-green tendrils twisting reality itself. 3 years into humanity's exile, and these storms still took his breath away. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Admiral Chen's voice startled him from his contemplation. She joined him at the viewport, her uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Human Exploration Force rather than the old Earth Space Force markings. "Terrifying, too," Raj admitted. "The Council wasn't wrong about everything. These regions are unstable." "True." Sarah smiled. "But they were wrong about our ability to adapt to them." She had a point. What the Council had intended as a death sentence, exiling humanity to the dangerous, unmapped regions beyond their space, had instead become the crucible of their greatest achievements. Sanctuary Station itself was proof of that, a massive installation built in the heart of what the Council called the Maelstrom, a sector of space they deemed permanently uninhabitable. "Latest reports from the research division," Raj said, pulling up data on his tablet. "The quantum shield modifications are exceeding expectations. We're not just surviving the storms anymore. We're harnessing them. The energy output is..." He paused, still amazed by the numbers. "It's beyond anything we could have achieved in normal space." "The Council would have a fit if they knew," Sarah chuckled. "Using quantum storms as power sources. Definitely against their safety protocols." "Speaking of the Council," Raj hesitated. "We picked up some interesting transmissions. Their border patrols are increasing along the exile boundary." "They're worried." "They should be." Sarah's expression hardened. "We've done more in 3 years of exile than they've allowed in centuries of supervised development." "How many colonies now?" 17 major installations, 32 outposts," Raj reported, "all using technologies the Council banned. Quantum shielding, adaptive AI networks, dimensional anchors. Everything they said would destroy civilization as we know it. And instead, we're thriving." Sarah turned as the station's another technology the Council feared, materialized its holographic avatar beside them. Admiral, the AI, which called itself Atlas, spoke with quiet urgency. "We're detecting unusual activity at the quantum sensor array in Sector 7. The patterns suggest, well, you should see this yourself." A holographic display appeared before them, showing a cascade of data that made Raj's eyes widen. "That's impossible. These readings suggest something massive moving through quantum space, much bigger than any known ship." "Not a ship," Sarah said quietly, studying the patterns. "More like a migration. Something vast is traveling through the deeper layers of quantum space. Something alive." "The Council's ships can't detect these layers," Raj realized. "Their sensors don't penetrate deep enough. They have no idea what's out here. And they never will, as long as they cling to their fears." Sarah straightened, her decision made. Atlas, send word to all colonies. I want every quantum sensor focused on tracking this phenomenon. Whatever's moving out there, we need to understand it. The Council would say we're being reckless, Raj pointed out, though he was already calculating how to enhance the sensor arrays. The Council would hide from it and hope it goes away. Sarah's voice carried the steel that had helped humanity survive exile. We're going to study it, understand it, and if necessary, face it. That's what we do now. That's who exile has made us. As if in response to her words, the quantum storm outside intensified, its ethereal light casting strange shadows through the observation deck. But where once such storms had threatened destruction, now they powered humanity's new civilization. What was meant to break them had only made them stronger. Dr. Patel, Sarah said, her eyes on the storm, I want you to head up the research team on this. Something tells me we're about to discover why the Council really abandoned these regions, and why they were wrong to do so. Raj nodded, feeling the familiar excitement of new discovery. The Council had feared the unknown, had built their entire civilization around avoiding it. But humans? Humans thrived on it. Outside, the quantum storm raged on, its wild energies now bent to human will. And somewhere in the depths of unexplored space, something ancient was moving, soon to meet the one species in the galaxy unafraid of change. The exile had taught humanity many things, but perhaps the most important lesson was this. The frontier between the known and unknown was not a boundary to be feared, but a horizon to be crossed. And humanity was just getting started. The silent storm. The Council chamber had changed little in the 3 years since humanity's exile. Overseer Exiled observed the emergency session with growing unease, their crystalline form vibrating with suppressed tension. The latest reports from the border sectors were disturbing. Another colony gone silent. First Speaker Exiled announced, their gelatinous form rippling with distress patterns. That's the 7th in 2 months. No warning, no distress signals. Just silence. The quantum barriers in that sector are holding. Another council member offered, but the words rang hollow. Everyone knew the barriers were little more than sensors. They had no real understanding of the deeper quantum layers where the threat lurked. Exiled could no longer remain silent. We must consider the possibility that our ancestors had reasons for abandoning those regions, reasons we've forgotten. The chamber fell silent. The suggestion that the mighty council lacked knowledge was nearly taboo. But these were desperate times. What do you propose? First Speaker Exiled asked carefully. Before Exiled could respond, the chamber's security fields flared to life. A transmission was cutting through their most secure channels, something that should have been impossible. A familiar human face appeared in the central hologram. Admiral Sarah Chen looked older than when Exiled had last seen her, but her eyes held the same determination. Honorable Council, she said without preamble, we need to talk. Dr. Raj Patel stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, now extensively modified with technology that would have given the Council collective panic attacks. The quantum storm outside raged with unprecedented fury, but their shields, derived from studying those same storms, held firm. They're responding exactly as predicted. Atlas reported, the AI's avatar showing the calculations in real time. The entities are quantum phase predators. They don't just consume energy. They consume probability itself. Sarah nodded grimly. Show me the projection again. A holographic map materialized, showing the movement patterns they tracked. The massive quantum space entities were following a clear path, one that led directly through Council space. Worlds would go silent not because they were destroyed, but because they would never have existed in the first place. The Council's quantum barriers are useless, Raj explained, knowing the Council was now listening through the open channel. These entities operate on a level of quantum reality the Council never learned to access. Their civilizations will be erased from history itself, unless we help them, Sarah added, looking directly at the Council members in the transmission. We've developed countermeasures, technologies that can fight back against quantum phase incursions, but we'll need full access to Council space to deploy them. You expect us to trust you, a Council member demanded, after you violated every safety protocol we established. No, Sarah replied calmly. We expect you to survive. Those protocols you cherish so much. They're the reason you can't fight this threat. They're the reason you never saw it coming. We did what you feared. We innovated. We adapted. We evolved. And now, we're your only hope. Exiled moved forward in the Council chamber. The human speaks truth. I have reviewed their data. These entities are real, and we are defenseless against them. If we grant you access, First Speaker Exiled said slowly, what exactly do you propose? Sarah nodded to Raj, who initiated the secure data transfer. We've developed what we call quantum anchors, devices that can stabilize reality against probability manipulation. They're powered by the same quantum storms you feared. We'll need to establish a network throughout Council space, creating a barrier the entities can't breach. And in return, the question hung in the air. In return, we save your civilization. Sarah's voice was firm. But understand this, we're not coming back to submit to your restrictions. We're coming back to show you a better way. The universe is changing. You can change with it, or you can cease to exist. Those are your options. The Council chamber erupted in argument. But Exiled noticed something significant. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Council was seriously debating the merits of unconstrained progress. 20 hours later, the Prometheus led a fleet of human ships back into Council space. They brought with them technologies the Council had banned, innovations they had feared, and a determination that had been forged in the quantum storms of exile. As they deployed the first quantum anchor, Sarah watched the impossible readings of the phase predators shift. Humanity hadn't just survived exile. They had learned to master the very forces that the Council had hidden from. Now those lessons would save the galaxy. Quantum anchor network at 15%. Atlas reported. The entities are responding. They're trying to adjust their phase variants. Let them try, Sarah said quietly. They're about to learn what we learned in exile. Adaptation is stronger than stagnation. Every time. The battle for reality itself was beginning, and humanity was ready. Paradigm shift. The massive engineering bay of the Council's primary research station had never seen anything like this, where once careful, methodical procedures had governed every action, now organized chaos reigned. Human engineers worked alongside Council specialists, their contrasting approaches creating an almost visible tension in the air. No, you have to let it run hot, Dr. Raj Patel explained to a horrified mechanic technician, their mechanical limbs twitching with anxiety. The quantum anchor needs that edge of instability to match the phase predator's frequency. But the safety protocols, the mechanic began, will get us all erased from existence, Raj finished firmly. Sometimes you have to break things to make them work better. Across the bay, Admiral Chen watched the interactions with a mixture of amusement and concern. The Council races were trying to adapt, but centuries of rigid thinking were hard to overcome. Even with 11 worlds now gone, their entire histories erased by the phase predators, many still clung to their old ways. Fascinating, Overseer Exiled observed, hovering beside her. Your species thrives on controlled disaster. It should not work, and yet we're here, Sarah finished. While your perfectly safe barriers failed, our reckless innovations are actually working. The quantum anchor network was now at 47% coverage, each device creating a bubble of stabilized reality that the phase predators couldn't unwrite. But they needed to reach at least 85% coverage before they could actually push the entities back. Admiral, Atlas manifested nearby, its holographic form drawing curious looks from Council scientists still unused to unrestricted AI. We have a problem. The phase predators are adapting faster than projected. They're learning to work around the anchors. Sarah straightened. Show me. A holographic display appeared, showing the quantum level readings. The entities were indeed changing their approach, probing the edges of the stabilized zones with increasing sophistication. They're intelligent. Exiled realized, their crystalline form pulsing with alarm. Collectively intelligent. Of course they are, Sarah said. They're not just predators. They're engineers themselves, reshaping reality to suit their needs. We need to think like them to beat them. Think like them. A council member who had been monitoring the exchange drew back in horror. That's exactly the kind of dangerous thinking that might save your civilization. Sarah cut in. Look at those pattern variations. They're not just adapting. They're innovating. Something you forgot how to do. Silence fell across the engineering bay. The council races looked at each other uncertainly, centuries of doctrine warring with the evidence before them. What do you propose? Exiled asked finally. Sarah turned to Raj. Doctor, remember that completely unsafe modification you were talking about last week? The one that would let the anchors actively rewrite quantum states instead of just stabilizing them. Raj's eyes lit up. The council said it was too dangerous to even simulate. Well, now we're going to build it. She turned to the assembled council races. Here's the choice. Stick to your safe methods and watch your worlds vanish from history, or help us do something crazy enough to work. The council members conferred quickly, their various forms shifting with agitation. Finally, Exiled spoke for them all. Teach us. What followed was unprecedented in council history. Humans didn't just show them new technology, they taught them new ways of thinking. The engineering bay became a crucible where millennia of tradition collided with human adaptability. You have to stop thinking of safety as the absence of danger, Sarah explained to a group of council engineers. True safety comes from understanding and controlling the danger. Gradually, painfully, the council races began to change. They learned to see the beauty in controlled chaos, the necessity of calculated risk. The quantum anchors evolved, becoming more than just barriers. They became tools for actively reshaping quantum space. Network coverage at 72%, Atlas reported days later. But more importantly, look at this. The AI displayed a new set of readings. The phase predators were pulling back, retreating from areas where the enhanced anchors were operating. For the first time, they were the ones being forced to adapt. They're afraid, Exiled realized. They've never encountered prey that could fight back like this. We're not prey anymore, Sarah said quietly. And neither are you, if you choose not to be. The council races looked at their modified technology, at the controlled chaos they had helped create, and something shifted in their collective understanding. They had taken the first steps away from stagnation, and the universe had not ended. Instead, it had begun to change. And this time, they were changing with it. New dawn. The galactic core blazed through the flagship's quantum-enhanced viewports, its light distorted by the massive reality anchoring fields now protecting council space. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as the last of the phase predators retreated into the deeper quantum layers they'd come from. But this time, they wouldn't be able to return unnoticed. Final quantum anchor is online, Raj reported, his voice carrying the weariness of months of non-stop work. Network coverage at 100%. The AI collective is already monitoring for any anomalies. The entities appear to be learning. Atlas added, its holographic form now incorporating elements of council crystalline computing, a hybrid technology that would have been unthinkable months ago. They recognize this space as defended, protected not just by barriers, but by something they've never encountered before. Understanding, Exiled said, their crystalline form gleaming with new patterns, modifications they'd chosen to make, breaking with millennia of tradition. We not only stopped them, we communicated with them, made them realize we are not simply prey to be erased. Sarah nodded. The final battle hadn't been won with weapons or walls, but with innovation itself. The phase predators, for all their power, couldn't adapt to prey that adapted faster than they did. In the end, humanity's greatest gift to the Council hadn't been technology. It had been the willingness to change. "Admiral," a young Council technician called out, one of many who had embraced the human way of pushing boundaries. "The quantum field readings from the core colonies are stabilizing. We're actually seeing probability echoes of some of the erased worlds. Can we bring them back?" Sarah asked, though she already suspected the answer. Raj shook his head. "Not entirely. But we can preserve their echoes, learn from them, maybe even restore fragments of their history." The phase predators didn't just erase worlds, they erased the very possibility of those worlds. But now we understand enough about quantum engineering to preserve possibilities. Possibilities, first speaker Exiled mused, having joined them for this historic moment. That is what we feared for so long. The possibility of change, of disaster, of loss. We tried to create perfect safety by eliminating possibility itself. And in doing so, you almost eliminated yourselves, Sarah said, but without rancor. The universe doesn't reward stagnation. It rewards adaptation. Universe doesn't reward stagnation. It rewards adaptation. The bridge crew, human and Council species working side by side, continued their work as the conversation unfolded. The quantum anchor network wasn't just a defense system now. It was becoming the foundation of a new way of life. Council ships were being refitted with human innovations, while human technology was being enhanced by Council precision. "The exile zones," Exiled said suddenly. "We called them uninhabitable, too dangerous for civilization. But you proved us wrong. Perhaps it is time to expand." Sarah smiled. "Carefully, I hope. With proper safety protocols. But not too proper." Exiled's crystal form flickered with what Sarah had learned was their version of humor. "We have learned that lesson, at least." "Speaking of lessons," Raj interjected, "the research teams are asking about exploring the deeper quantum layers, now that we understand them better." "Let me guess," Sarah interrupted. "The Council members on the team are the ones pushing hardest for it." "Indeed," Atlas confirmed. "They are particularly interested in the possibility of quantum communication networks. It seems once you teach someone to innovate, they develop quite an appetite for it." First speaker Exiled's form rippled with what might have been embarrassment. "We have much to learn. But perhaps we also have much to teach. Our caution, tempered by your innovation. Our stability, energized by your drive to explore." Sarah turned back to the viewport, watching the galactic core shimmer through layers of quantum fields that humans and Council species had engineered together. "That's the real victory here, isn't it? Not just saving civilization, but changing it, making it better." "The Council votes tomorrow on officially ending your exile," Exiled said. "Though at this point, it's merely a formality. You've already changed everything." "Not everything," Sarah corrected. "We've just opened the door to change. What comes next? That's something we'll all discover together." As if to emphasize her words, a quantum storm blossomed in the distance. Once feared, now understood. Once a barrier, now a gateway. The Council had wanted to exile humanity to protect the galaxy from chaos. Instead, they had forced humanity to evolve, to master the chaos, and ultimately to teach others to do the same. It wasn't the end of history, but the beginning of a new one. A history where humanity and the Council races would face the unknown together, armed not with rigid protocols, but with the greatest technology of all. The ability to adapt, to change, and to grow. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the dawning of a new age. An age where the galaxy would no longer hide from its fears, but face them, learn from them, and transcend them, together.